night someone you love will die. Not tonight specifically, but someday. And when that happens, you will do something that no other animal on Earth does. You will plan a ceremony, you will choose a container, you will pick a location, and you will return to that location again and again for the rest of your life. The question is, why? And the stranger question is, how long have you been doing this? The answer reaches back further than you probably imagine, and it rewrites almost everything you think you know about what it means to be human. Most people assume that ritual burial is a relatively recent invention, something that came with religion, with civilization, with language sophisticated enough to discuss the afterlife. But the archaeological record tells a different story, a much older, stranger, more unsettling story. One that suggests the impulse to honor the dead is not something humans invented. It is something that was already inside you long before you were fully human at all. Let's go back. Way back. 300,000 years ago, before your species existed. Before Homo sapiens had taken a single step on this planet. In a cave system in South Africa called the Shanidar Cave, a creature was doing something that had never been seen before at that depth in human prehistory. That creature was Homo naledi, a small-brained, small-bodied hominin with a brain roughly 1/3 the size of yours. And according to paleoanthropologist Lee Berger and his team, who published their findings in 2023, Homo naledi was deliberately carrying its dead deep into the dark cave system and placing them in recesses in the rock. Not eating them, not abandoning them. Placing them intentionally. Hundreds of thousands of years before your species existed. Think about what that means for a moment. The creature doing this had a brain too small, by most scientific assumptions, to hold complex symbolic thought. It had no confirmed language, no evidence of advanced tool use at those depths. And yet something inside it, some impulse, compelled it to carry the bodies of its dead into the dark and leave them there with care. Lee Berger called it a profound discovery. Other researchers called it controversial, but the bones are real, the placement is real, and it forces you to ask a question that has no clean answer. Where does the urge to honor the dead actually come from? Now move forward in time, to around 100,000 years ago, to a cave in what is now Israel called Qafzeh Cave. Here, researchers found the deliberate burial of a child alongside a deer antler placed carefully across the child's arms. The body was laid in a specific position. The grave goods were intentional. These were anatomically modern humans, people whose DNA you carry traces of, and they were not just disposing of a body, they were making a statement. Around the same period, Neanderthals, your closest evolutionary cousins, a separate species, were doing something similar. In Shanidar Cave in northern Iraq, archaeologist Ralph Solecki discovered Neanderthal burials in the 1950s that appeared to include flower pollen scattered around the bodies. The pollen interpretation remains debated today. Some researchers argue the flowers may have been carried in by burrowing rodents. But the deliberate positioning of Neanderthal bodies, the placement of tools and animal remains alongside them, has been confirmed at multiple sites across Europe and the Middle East. Your cousin species buried their dead, a species with whom you share roughly 1.5 to 2% of your DNA was doing, in some form, what you still do today. So here's the reframe. You did not invent death ritual. Death ritual invented you. Or more precisely, the capacity for it was already present in the lineage that produced you long before you arrived. It is older than your language, older than your art, possibly older than your species. And this raises a question that anthropologists have wrestled with for decades. What does this behavior actually mean? What is it for? There are several theories, and none of them are mutually exclusive. The first is the practical theory. Early humans and hominins may have buried their dead simply to remove decomposing bodies from living spaces. Disease, scavengers, the smell. There is practical logic to putting a body in the ground, but this theory breaks down quickly when you look at the evidence. People were not just dumping bodies. They were positioning them carefully. They were adding objects. They were choosing specific locations. They were returning to those locations. That is not sanitation. That is something else.